Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. I hope everyone's doing well tonight. I am going to be broadcasting. I am broadcasting on Rumble and YouTube, and I hope you all are doing well. And I want to thank everybody who shows up for the live stream tonight, and everybody who shows up afterwards. And I appreciate your kind comments in the comment section, and the people that went to buy me a coffee. I appreciate you all. Let me know that you appreciate me. Ha ha ha. Boy, we got so much stuff going on. And these judges are just showing themselves. Trump called out the Colorado situation with Tina Peters. And, I know we've got a lot of people that don't pay attention. They can't see past their noses, but it's becoming apparent more and more to more and more people that we got a serious problem. And when is the breaking point going to be? When's the breaking point going to be? I don't know. But things are untenable. You look at what happened in North Carolina. 60,000 votes, some of them with no signatures, scribbled chicken scratch signatures, addresses that lead to empty fields, or who knows where, who knows what. And that's all got to be counted. Yes. And we have a Democrat judge get put in there by whiskers, including these trash pail votes that you could have wrote on any old scrap of paper, made up a name. Who the hell knows? No birthdays. Oh, boy. And that is all supposed to be all well and good. And we're supposed to keep taking it, right? Yeah, well, I don't think so. But anyway, hi, Angel. How you doing? Sissy, Sherry, Mac, nice to see you. Justin, Robin, nice to see you. Debbie, Wayne's here. Give me a thumbs up. Thank you, Wayne, for going to buy me a coffee and helping out. I appreciate it. And the nice message you left me that you appreciate my broadcasts. Hi, Todd. How are you doing? Well, I tell you, we've got, remember I was showing videos. You all are my witness. My witness. Now I'm using my what do you call that? Picasso did one. He did it's my own personal drawing of myself. I stood in front of a mirror and I said, well, I can draw that. But that's me on the screen. That's the way it's supposed to go. So anyway, you all are my witness when I showed those videos of Senator Whitehouse going out in front of the crowds talking about, how awful Trump was. And Bill Grego Garcia, the Maryland, all this. I said, I've never heard of him before. We've heard of all these other high-profile senators, many of them on both sides. We've had them on Republican side. We know about Kennedy and Lindsey Graham and big names like that. But when did we ever hear Sheldon Whitehouse? And all of a sudden he's going out there mouthing off. Remember that, folks? You all are my witnesses. Gloria, how you doing? Brush, nice to see you. Hebrew Hammer, nice to see you. Also, Rebecca's here. How many of you all remember me saying that? I said, remember that name, Senator Whitehouse. I said, something's going on. He is squealing. Those that squeal the loudest, right? Well, we find out he's embroiled in a SCOTUS scandal, right? John Roberts had a fireside chat. I didn't get to see it, but he's in there in this imbroglio with Senator Whitehouse. Scandal. I called it a SCOTUS scandal because I didn't feel like typing out Justice John Roberts. Scandal. So he's coming out running his jaws after they put out that ridiculous Easter weekend directive not to deport. Well, the bottom line is how the President of the United States deals with foreign entities on our soil is part of foreign policy, and that is under the sole plenary purview of the President of the United States. If SCOTUS is somehow trying to fashion in their brains some manner of pseudo-citizenship to remove them from the realm of foreign influence and foreign powers and bring them into the bosom of American citizenship, that's going to be a tall order, but they're trying to do it. Sonia Sotomayor, you know, she wishes she could wave a magic judicial wand, and all of a sudden, all the no-speakies got big rights. But the bottom line is, their presence is unauthorized. The President of the United States and the Secretary of State decide who is persona non grata. Time to go. That is a foreign policy issue. They are a foreign influence. Infiltration, not invasion. So, the scandal, I'm like, what is the deal with this White House guy? Well, how come he is squealing all of a sudden, crying the blues, making all these public yammering, jabbering statements? Him and in the House of Representative, I believe his name's Hank Johnson. He's the brain surgeon. Oh, you remember Hank Johnson. He was talking about Guam. Now, isn't it so that if we put too many people and too much equipment on the island of Guam, that it might actually flip over, thereby drowning everyone and causing a natural disaster of some sort. No, you idiot. Islands can't flip over. But that is this terrible trio, apparently, was conducting clandestine surreptitious meetings. Some could say ex parte discussions with the court. That's an attempt at making it sound nice. The bottom line is illegal communications. I remember reading about Taney back in the day, 1862, I believe it was, somewhere around there, when he announced the Dred Scott decision. People were on pins and needles, and I believe it was Salmon Chase and someone else were seen talking to him, and it was scandalous because it was knowing winks, knowing smiles before the decision of Dred Scott was handed down. And people back in the 1860s were outraged that the branches of government were talking with one another rather than being a healthy resistance to one another, a healthy checks and balances, not a collusion. But anyway, so that's what we have now. I don't know why my figure's mouth isn't opening. Self-portrait, that's what it is, my self-portrait. I don't, but I'm going to get it where the mouth is open and the eyeballs are blinking. I don't know. I'll trim my toenails up too. But anyway, seems that there is a reports of whenever there were developments coming up in the State Departments or the executive branch moves by the president, moves by the Justice Department, moves by Tom Hullman, were getting leaked that this terrible trio would have emergency meetings to cogitate on how to counter it, how to frustrate the President of the United States and his agenda that we, the American people, voted for. He made it very plump and plain. He's deporting people, mass deportations. He said it over and over and over again. So they've been colluding. Somebody who was really didn't have faith in Congress and didn't have faith in the judiciary, they could use the term conspiring. And, if it was a criminal situation, 2 or more people make a conspiracy, and then you're looking at RICO. But it's just government business, right? Well, is it hard and fast in the rules that the branches can't have secret meetings between each other without the public knowing about it, without being... Now, SCOTUS, the justices can debate, and they're entitled to their privacy and their ability to speak freely amongst each other and to hammer out decisions and opinions because they're all members of the same branch. But let's see where this takes us. And now we know why Sheldon Whitehouse, or whatever his name is, started to come out and make himself a national figure, running his jaws, ringing the bell, and claiming his Chicken Little emergencies. Now we know why. Justice Roberts is having apparently a fireside chat. I haven't seen it, hadn't heard it. And in a macabre way, it interests me, but I'm sure it's... My prediction is that it's full of pablum, okay, and emotional, sentimental, semi-legal mental meanderings, okay, which is what the left fall for. The do-gooders. We need a do-gooder prison. Oh, we had another female sports event. So how many of them are going to sit there and stick their neck out? Like with these transgender sports, the governors, we don't care about the executive order. We don't care about this. Well, I will give Roberts and crew a kudos for the decision to keep trannies, people transitioning, people with a self-induced, in many cases, physical problems, but who knows where it comes from, mental problems, if it's self-induced or abuse from when they were young, like teachers, okay, that can't spell, interacting with young people and planting seeds in their head. I call it cultivating. Now, that's because the UTISL algorithm hadn't caught on to that word yet. If I use GR with a double O, okay, MER, oh, no, I can't talk about it. See, because we have free speech. So I got to call them cultivators, recruiters. They can't reproduce, so they have to recruit. Am I right? I think so. Yvonne's here. Yeah, nice to see you. Melvita. Miss Mendersu, thank you for going to buy me a coffee. I appreciate it. And yes, don't forget to hit that like button. Oh, how come my chats won't? Oh, there they go. They're playing around with me. I can't really scroll for some. There it goes. I don't know. But anyway, then we'll discuss these things some more. I mean, how did they find out about this? These secret meetings, emergency meetings between White House, Johnson, and Roberts. Isn't that something? Senate, House, and Judiciary. Nobody from the executive branch involved. Huh. So on top of that, we've got all sorts of things bouncing about. We've got Kash Patel and Bondi, Pam Bondi coming out, talking about their bust. I mentioned that. I watched the press conference. I thought she was going to bring up the name S.A. Tan, right? But that's all right. We know about it. We know about it. You guys can get a screenshot of the things I put up the other day. You know, isn't it funny how I put up that picture of the Prime Minister Modi and the Pakistani Prime Minister staring at each other, getting ready to hit a red button? You all are my witness. I started off my show with that, did I not? I most certainly did. And then what happens? Military action between the two yesterday. Barely 24 hours when I finished my broadcast. I said, Mr. T, all the things he's worried about, he's got to worry about the real scary N-word as a nuclear. And then you have bombings of an airport, retaliatory bombings by India against Pakistan for the 2 weeks ago. They had an incursion of terrorists. That's how you pronounce it, I believe, terrorists. And Pakistan claims to have shot down 5 jets from India. Yeah. So I knew that was on the back burner, soon to be on the front burner. I'm trying to, hold on a second. I'm trying to pull something up on the screen, but it's not working very good. Anyway, I still had that picture, but it won't come up. Anyway, this is a little bit of an odd platform, but I don't have a lot of video clips and a lot of stuff. I've just got a lot of stuff floating through my head I want to talk about. And then I get to producing all these videos, all these pictures, and all I'm doing is being a parakeet, a parrot for all the stuff everybody else is showing and saying, ain't that something? And then I go on to the next video clip, ain't that something? No, I want to tell you what I'm thinking, what I'm seeing, that we need to look at a little bit deeper. We had Comer from the House talk about Kash Patel and Pam Bondi with the Epstein files. He's saying they don't exist anymore. They've been destroyed. But that's not what we're hearing from Pam Bondi. She said there's almost, what was the figure, 130 victims, or between 120 and 130 victims. Anybody in the chats know? What did he used to say at Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus? Children of all ages. Ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, from that ring she busted up, over 200 people, that's going to spread. They're going to sing. They're going to lay out their modus operandi. It was like when Twitter was bought out. All the P3DOs, right, ran to Mastodon. And among other creepo sites, birds of a feather flock together. So how many are we going to dig up out of that mess? And yes, we need more prisons. She said a lot of these people are going to go away for life. They'll never set foot as free individuals again. They're in custody. Diane, keep an eye on Pam Bondi. Something's not right with her. And you said that about General Flynn. You said that about just about anybody. I'm trying to think. I got his face in my General Flynn's coming into the administration. You said it about Jeff Sessions. You said it about what's his name, Bill Barr. I'm waiting for you to say something about Donald Trump. Keep an eye on Donald Trump. Something's wrong with him. Hi, Robin. Nice to see you. But I guess it's good, Debbie, to be skeptical. Hi, Justin. How you doing? I mean, Diane. I'm sorry. Nice to be skeptical. You said General Flynn was good. I don't know. I think one time I remember you saying he was bad. I got a little hot under the collar. Might have been somebody else. Oh, Debbie said General Flynn. Nope. Okay, the names start with a D, so I got them conflagged, tangled up in my head. Is that a word? Conflagged, tangled? Oh, I'm trying to get my jacket off, and I hurt my arm the other day. Yeah, my forearm. I'm a mortal. I've gone from young and invincible to a beat up old man. Happens when you fall off a tractor. Busted my arm up real good. Yeah, Flynn's good, and he's coming. He's going to come in and be a national security advisor. Talk about somebody who knows where the body's buried. So I got that twisted up. Sherry, how you doing? If Diane hadn't put your name in there, it slipped right by me. Roland says, let's go. I wanted to put the chats on the screen so people on Rumble can see them, but I can't scroll when I do that. I can't go back. If they go past my screen, they're gone for good. So maybe I should do that for everybody on Rumble. Hi, everybody on Rumble. And I believe Shannon, she helped buy me a coffee along with Miss Minda Sue and Wayne and William. And I think Shannon's from Rumble. Hilarious too, helped out this week. This is the last day of the week. I do appreciate it. So, Greg, how you doing? Well, let me tell you something. He said Bill Barr's bad. What is a good movie? What makes a good movie? We were asked that a couple of times in the 17 drops. Good actors. Good actors make a good movie. And I had a video of him. I don't know if I played it or not. Yeah, I think I did. Where he said, there you go, Greg got it. Roland got it. Ha ha, Miss Bendersue got it. Bill Barr said, yeah, that judge needed to go to jail. She broke the law. So it's like what Mr. T used to say, still does say, about anti-Graham. He's there when you need him. And that's what counts. So we've suffered through these. I saw. Wait a second. Let me see if I can get to where my pictures are. And if I don't want to risk it, I'll just say from memory on some of this stuff. I saw more articles popped up on my notification before about an hour before I went live, talking about Garcia being wrongly deported and the usual double talk that's patently false. And why it isn't being strongly corrected, I have no idea. Even though Sotomayor's opinion, as cluttered and scatterbrained as it was clear about facilitating the release from the prison, and we could not compel the president to return him. That's in the order. I'll have to put it on the screen and read it. But you know, these liberals are lost. You watch the comments. I don't know why I do it to myself, but I do it. They're down on the military parade. They're down on everything Trump does. Everything. And some of them, one guy named Eduardo, comes on all these different Midas Trash Network, Dopey David Pakman, Now This Impact, Occupy Democrats, all these crap sites. And he says, if you ever on there, you'll see it. If you're ever looking at comments, if Trump told something like this, if Trump told his supporters cows lay eggs and chicken made milk, they'd believe him. And he always gets like 10 times the thumbs up everybody else gets. But I've been seeing that for a month from somebody named Eduardo. So he put in there MAGA for jail, one of his comments. So I tapped on his comment and I put my answer to him, Eduardo for CCOT. And he didn't respond, so I don't know. So anyway, you got bots, you got people that get paid to put out the same crap, but you can tell when they're like real people. One of them put in Dopey David Pakman's community page. Please quit playing videos of Trump. And it was something to the effect of, it makes him look normal. So quit playing the videos. And people responded to this woman and they said, well, maybe he should dub over the voice with AI. In other words, whenever Dopey David Pakman plays a clip from Trump, he's talking sense, even though Pakman tries to twist it. What he's saying appears normal and appeals to people that watch the clips. So they don't even want him to play any clips of Trump. Hi, Kathy. How you doing? Oh, there, it's scrolling good now. Sometimes I'm sitting here swiping on the screen and nothing's happening. It throws my thoughts off. But anyway. I'm just looking at the comments real quick. Anyway, so we've got this a clash between, have the Epstein files been destroyed or do they exist? How can you have one person sentenced to 30 years, like whatever Epstein was looking at, and ends up not existing anymore, and his cohort getting 20 years, and none of their customers we don't know who they are. How can you be convicted of those things without a buyer? Without somebody completing the transaction? So this Virginia Guthrie passing away. James O'Keefe put out something I haven't. I saw Tim Pool was doing, and I know people are going to say Tim Pool's no good. But he did have a live broadcast, where he was talking about the royal family and James O'Keefe, OMG Media, supposedly telling some inside skinny. Well, I step back and I look at it. I think they're trying to find out if they are destroyed, incriminating, not victim lists, a list of victim names, but a list of customers. Who destroyed it? Somebody inside the agency. They're still rooting out bad trash. I believe that's also, Greg. I think they're not destroyed. But that's what Comer was telling folks. So somebody is running cover. Somebody is tampering with evidence at a very high level. Do you think that these emergency meetings with White House, Hank Johnson, and Roberts were only about immigration issues? What they do is they give each other strategies and marching orders, what to push for in the Senate to stymie not just Trump, but I believe the investigations. The investigations into a great many things. But they're acting like it's just, only deportation. How can we trip up Trump on deporting people? That's the only reason they're having these meetings. Oh, I don't believe so. Not for a second. I think they've been having these meetings for a long time. I believe it's covered a lot more subjects than just Abrego Garcia. Which there's a DOJ investigation going on into how he got cut loose after that traffic stop. Dollars to donuts. Whoever was spitting out them orders, let him go, is tied in with whoever's hiding the Epstein stuff. Because this whole thing about paroling people, bringing millions in, flying them around the country, what was it? What was the reason to keep Trump out? The same reason we all were told to stay home, stay safe, 6 feet apart, mask up, destroy the economy, go to the mailbox to put in your piece of paper, all to keep Trump out. So the state police got Garcia on the side of the road, and they call to ask what to do about ICE. Then the word is that it was actually the FBI that made the final call. Somebody's on call about a character from Maryland. Where was he when they caught him? Tennessee, Kentucky, or somewhere like that? Coming from Texas, they claim. Very high levels of ICE and the FBI that instruct the state police to let him go, or the county boys, whatever they were. If you or I couldn't produce insurance, had an expired driver's license, never mind the other suspicious circumstances in somebody else's vehicle, we'd have been walking at the very least, and the vehicle would have been impounded. Even if you were in your hometown. Officer, I'm half a mile from my home. I didn't know my license was expired. Too bad. I don't have any insurance proof. $250 fine or whatever state you're in, and we're calling a tow truck. How did this guy get away with it? I guarantee the people that were involved in covering up that traffic stop and letting our Brega or Garcia, whatever his name is, go is tied into what happened to Jeffrey Epstein stuff and a great many other things. So I believe that's what Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are doing. You got to find out how a period of many years since Jeffrey Epstein's arrest, how we got to this point in time and we haven't got the information. And perpetrators and customers, abusers have been hidden. There's only one way, and it has to be people high up in the agency. Wouldn't you agree? So we can't continue like they don't exist. We can't leave them there and try to play a cat and mouse game for the next 3.5 years. No, we got to root them out. Let's see. Oh, I'm sure there's there's all kinds of evidence. But we've got to get the enablers. We've got to get the people who have infiltrated. And that's what brings me to this business of judges. As far as I'm concerned, this allowing 60,000 votes where there's no way to verify that they're real, claiming that it's part of the rules to allow votes that are clearly invalid. Invalid. I think we found another judge, not the one who's stepping in the role, but the one who made the decision to allow those votes to go through. That's either a captured office, a captured individual through bribery, extortion, threats, or It's someone who's part of the infiltration. Another judge. Judge Luttig, I've talked about him before. I said he looked like an old toad frog. I put his picture up. He got together 150 judges, retired judges, to write a letter saying they took umbrage with what Pam Bondi said about judges being deranged. Why would you have 150 judges all get together? We're not deranged. Sounds kind of deranged to me. But it shows you how many of them. Now, how many of them got intimidated, shamed? You know, you really got to sign this letter, kind of like the 51 intelligence agents, right? Talking about Russian information. You're a retired judge, and here they come. I got to sign this letter condemning Trump. He said we were deranged. Even though Pam Bondi was talking about the ones who aid and abet fugitives out their own back door. So I don't know how I'm sure there's a scorecard, a count. Going way back to the judges that refused to hear Rudy Giuliani's evidence in the 2020 election. The judges that claimed that Trump had no standing, even though he was a sitting president running for re-election, he didn't have any standing. And how that narrative goes to evidence was presented before 60 different courts, and they all agreed it was a fair election. When none of them heard, they kicked it out for standing. They kicked it out for saying they took too much time. Any number of reasons, anything but hear the evidence. So there's a number of judges there that it has to be weeded out who did it under threat, against their better judgment, which is not good, to compromise your principles. But if you don't feel like you have anyone to talk to, and you see a governor, who was the aide that the car they called it a wreck, and it just blew up? That was Georgia, wasn't it? The last time I broadcast, I had just heard, but it got swallowed up with all the other events going on, about Kemp. Kemp stepping down. Hi, Pappy. What were we told about people who resign, decline to run, leave office? Why did Brian Kemp step down? Because he's going to sing like a bird. And we'll see how that ball bounces. But it's going to be one of many. That's right, under submission, and will do as they're told. Do as they're told. Well, White House isn't under submission yet. Hank Johnson isn't under submission yet. Which one on the Supreme Court is going to be the first to go? I think somebody's going out the door. You heard it here first. Somebody's going to be going out the door. I was thinking, Roland said Roberts. I was thinking last week that would be Sotomayor with that histrionic, dopey ruling she wrote. But then I was reading where she kind of scolded Katanji Brown a little bit. Katanji Brown kept interrupting, what's his name? Sadow, the attorney for the administration. And Sotomayor said for her to be quiet and let him speak. That's really rare for a judge to tell another judge that. Now, Sotomayor is a senior justice compared to Katanji Brown. But Katanji Brown's philosophy is wholly incompatible with the proper operation of a Supreme Court, with the proper operation of a civilization. I'll put it that way. So I thought, well, Sotomayor maybe get a little talking to by somebody after that dopey ruling she wrote. And maybe it's going to be Katanji Brown. I don't know. She's awful young. She would have to trip up really bad, or they'd have to catch her doing something very unfortunate. So that brings me back to what was said in the chats earlier. Roland said it. Roberts. And this business of repeated surreptitious clandestine meetings with members of Congress behind everybody's back may just be the impetus. May just be the impetus. I don't know about Amy Coney Barrett. I tell you, there was such fanfare with her. Justice Thomas swearing her in during Trump's nomination at the White House, on television in front of the world. Maybe that was just to put pressure on her to do the right thing, but he didn't just pluck her out of the sky. She was picked for a reason. I was watching Canadian Public Broadcasting, and since we got Roland and Ronald, they were talking about the Carney meeting at the White House. And they played, I guess it's about a 20-minute video with a young man presenting, talking about how heroic and brave and smart Carney was and how he dealt with Trump, how he handled Trump, what a wonderful job he did, sticking up for Canada's independence. Canada is not for sale. And they played these clips. They got freeze frames of him with a serious face. And, but they left out something. I was going to record that. It's Canada's version of NPR. I was going to play the whole thing and ask you all, what did he leave out? Angel says no one watches CBC in Canada. Well, nobody watches NPR in America. all these people on The View and all these other shows, oh, he wants to get rid of Sesame Street. That's the first thing they go to with this public broadcasting crap. Sesame Street got sold out years ago. I don't know how many years, 3, 4, 5, to some private company. It's not even a part of PBS anymore. They don't show that stuff anymore. But they always say, oh, Big Bird's under attack. Big Bird was a sellout. He's gone. Jess and Bean, how you doing? Yeah, he left out the thanks for the invite, but I think he just showed because Trump said the day before he's coming here. I don't know what they want. I don't know what they're coming to talk about, but I said, oh, yeah, sure, come on by. But they left out something. They talked about how Canada's not for sale, how Trump said never say never. And Carney said, well, some things like the White House and Buckingham Palace aren't for sale. Oh, what a wonderful parry. They left out a whole clip. I just wondered if you all caught what it was. What? They didn't even reference it. See if you all caught what they left out. What was one of the big things Trump said about and to Canada via their prime minister? Yeah, they did leave that out, Todd. Give it time. I'll tell you one thing they left out. Because they played lengthy clips, but they edited them. Where Trump says, we lose $200 billion, a tune of $200 billion or thereabouts. He said, whether you say it's more, whether you say it's less, it's around $200 billion. But that wasn't the big thing they left out. That wasn't the thing that left Carney sitting there like a mute. He didn't have a snappy comeback. Yeah, he said they looked like they had a ruler just ran right across the line there. They played that because they think it makes Trump look bad. What they left out was Trump said, we don't want your cars. We don't need your cars. We don't want your steel. We don't want your trees. You have nothing we want. We don't have to do business with you. And we don't have to keep giving you $200 billion a year. And when you put it that way, where are you going to sell your cars, your timber, your steel, or your whatever? They want to hang their hat on energy. Well, Alberta's got most of the energy. I saw a map showing North America's energy sources. And it's a swath that cuts right through Alberta. And over toward Ottawa, there's nothing going on. And they're putting forth a referendum. They're marching outside of Parliament and protesting outside of Parliament because they want to break away. Now they're saying, well, we would like to be our own country. But the undercurrent and the hidden message, I believe, is that they're open to what Trump's talking about. the 51st state. So I guess Ottawa and all them better be careful. Because you could have Alberta as the 51st state, Greenland as the 52nd, and they can come in at 53rd. They can come in at 53rd. Or they can sit and live like Greenland. But Carney said we are loyal. Loyal to who? Loyal to the crown. Loyal to the crown. That doesn't mean nothing to us. In a good way. It means something to us. But nothing good. I saw a interview with William Shatner. I was talking about him the other night. Y'all remember that? The old bloated Captain Kirk. The young Captain Kirk. I was talking about myself, of course. And this is what William Shatner would look like with a beard and a bottle of moonshine. But anyway. Shatner said, he's a friendly man, good person. I mean, when you think of who came out of Canada involved in iconic television shows, you see Captain Kirk, William Shatner, you see Alex Trebek, right? Jeopardy, and you see Peter Jennings. He was around for a long time. A lot of people like watching him. Was Ted Koppel out of Canada? I don't know. But I know those three I just mentioned are, as far as Bill Shatner's concerned. But anyway, I enjoyed watching that interview. But he said, he wrapped it up by saying, you talk to us about this, you talk to us about that. And I'm thinking, why don't you just leave us alone? Just leave us alone. I thought, wow. Yeah, Roland, Michael J. Fox. That reminded me of an old story where a guy had his wife at home, and she would ask him how his day went, and he's grumpy. He have his paper, and he reads his paper, and keep to himself. And he said, leave me alone. Whenever she would try to make small talk, or he'd say, leave me alone. And the story goes on that way. And it ends up, he comes home, and the house is dark. He calls her name. Nobody answers. All night, day goes by, and all night, all the next day, and realize she left him alone. All alone. So, Bill Shatner, be careful what you wish for. Hi, Cosette. How you doing? Angel, how you doing? Saskatchewan. Oh, okay. They have potash, wheat, and Alberta has oil, gas, and beef. Yeah. Who's got a title, Cosette? Title as in royalty, like a duke, earl, and duchess, and a king, and a prince, and all that stuff. President is the name of an office, right? a title is something of nobility. Am I right in saying that? But anyway, I haven't had a chance to read any opinions on this, keeping people with mental illnesses out of the military, I'll put it that way. And but I did hear that there was, it might have been Sotomayor, they were scolding Pete Hegseth, I guess, Pete Hegseth, by saying members of the administration were publicly saying things that were counter to what the lawyers were filing. Because the lawyers were saying, look, this isn't singling out trannies, right? This is anybody who has a condition that will not allow them to perform in the military. Well, Hegseth gets up there and makes a little speech and says, we ain't dealing with no more dresses, no more, and then none of that SHIT. So I guess somebody's feelings got hurt. Might have been Katanji Brown. But I'd like to read, I'd like to find out how many justices, maybe somebody in the chats know, how many justices said to support the keeping trannies out, I'll put it that way, of the military, even though it's keeping people out, not allowing people to join who have issues, I'll put it that way. Unaddressable issues, irreparable issues from a standpoint of military service. How many of them said, yeah, the military's right, you can't function that way, on the Supreme Court? And how many dissented? Or was it unanimous? I don't know. I don't know. Or was it just a opinion handed down for further review? I believe what it was they handed down a thing saying the stay on firing and removing people with those conditions is removed. That they can continue to remove these people, but it's still being heard by the Ninth Circuit. I believe that's what it was. Roland said 5-4. So Diane said that too. Well, it'll be interesting to read some opinions, because as far as I'm concerned, anybody who thinks that we should allow that in the military doesn't belong on the bench. They don't have the common sense necessary to be in a position to make decisions that will affect this country. And so right there, Katanji Brown Jackson has got to go. And it's funny how they put, is it because she's a black woman? No. No, if she was Liberace, I don't care. If you think the way you think, you're not fit for the bench. And I don't know what compelled Republicans to vote for her after that ridiculous display. But they did. I watched a local Fox, said Fox, like WKTLA or something like that. I can't remember the letters. I just pulling them out. Talking about the tariffs. I said, well, it's a local Fox News station. And, this was the lead up after the meeting with Carney. They they had these talking heads. I guess they get paid so much, to show up at the studio in a suit. I don't know how much it is, a couple $100 for a local station, maybe $300. I don't know. Could be 5,000. I don't know. And they start talking. Well, everybody knows that tariffs are a punishment for taxpayers. Is that right? Everybody knows that? What Trump's telling everybody is that it's going to be a boon, just like during the days of McKinley and before, for 130 some years before that, where people won't have to pay personal income tax. Trump upped it from 150,000 and below to 200,000 and below. And I still say it's going to be across the board as far as personal services, like getting your rear end out there and digging a ditch or waiting a table or driving a truck, performing a service. And revenue for the government will be through tariffs and corporate taxes and taxes on gains in stock and things like that. But for people who are putting forth the sweat of their brow for an income, they'll be left alone. And that's the way it should be. But on top of that talk, they started off the program with Tom Homan. And I've been hearing this a lot. Double down. They doubled down. They doubled down. Well, Tom Homan doubled down. Tom Homan got up there and said, aiding and abetting is a felony. Entering this country illegally is a crime. And aiding and abetting them is a felony. And you will go to jail. And it doesn't matter who you are. Oh, everybody's mad about that. Because they asked him about what Governor Evers was crying about. He's threatening me. Well, Tom Homan answered him. If you don't cross the line, you don't got nothing to worry about. If you do, you're going to have problems. So one of these talking heads in a suit said it reminded him of a word. Tom Homan's behavior reminded him of a word. And he said, I'll say it. Rooster. And they went to commercial. I said, rooster? And I was thinking, well, what could he mean? Like when Clint Eastwood was sitting on the porch and a little Asian lady, the old lady, called him a rooster, old rooster. And I said, well, that doesn't fit Tom Homan. And so they came back from their commercial, and the guy started talking. He said, what I meant by rooster was Tom Homan is acting like Rooster Cogburn from the John Wayne movie True Grit. He's a big, tough talking guy, but he's going to fall flat with what he's trying to do. He's all bluster and talk, just like Rooster Cogburn. And this is a news program, a guy in a suit. If you'd watched the movie, Rooster Cogburn, for those of you who watched it, if you haven't, you ought to. Who was the actor? Robert Duvall. Robert Duvall said, after Rooster Cogburn told him, I'm going to bring you in, and you'll be hanged, at Judge so-and-so's convenience. And Rooster Cogburn was on one horse, and there were 4 horses facing him, with Robert Duvall as the head bad guy. And Robert Duvall said, "Sounds like some pretty bold talk from a one-eyed fat man." And Rooster Cogburn said, "Fill your hands, you son of a bee," and put the reins in his mouth and shot them all dead. So where was he coming from saying that Tom Hullman was acting like Rooster Cogburn, all talk, no action? Didn't he ever see the movie True Grit? I hope I didn't spoil it for people who hadn't seen the movie, but it's been out since the 1960s or 70s. What, that was 69, wasn't it? Or 72, somewhere around there. So, but they try to set a narrative and paint a picture, a character of people to belittle them. Because people who've never seen the movie think it's some, I guess, drunken, blustering, big old guy that can't get anything done. And this is Fox. I said, well, maybe these local affiliates, they do what they want. Because the next thing, this is the same broadcast. They had a guy get on there and say, he said, well, we're going to have an interview with a AC technician. He fixes air conditioners. And so they had this guy on there. "Thank you for joining us tonight." "Oh, yes, very, very glad to see you." "So you're saying that people are going to be in for a rough ride because of these tariffs?" Yes, they're going to be in for a very rough ride. You see, we had to change which recipe or which mixture of gases we put in our AC units nowadays, and we just started this new formula back in December. Now, that's a scam in itself. I won't get into it too far. When I was dealing with air conditioners, they used R12. R12 since the 1960s. And then they said it was destroying the ozone. And it keep changing. I don't know how many times they change it. R146, R164, all these different mixes. So apparently they've gone on to a new mixture. And he's claiming that they're not going to be able to get any parts. And people are going to have equipment breakdown. Nobody's going to be able to fix it. And it's going to get real hot and people aren't going to have air conditioning. And it's going to be all because of Donald Trump's tariffs. And I said, I know I needed a capacitor last year. A capacitor. They go on a lot of different things. They go on air conditioners. They go on well pumps. They go on any high draw electric. It's like a boost for the electric, so it doesn't blow the breaker in your house. It's something that holds a charge and gives your equipment a boost right when it starts up. Your refrigerator, your any high draw item. And I had to wait a year ago, for a well pump, for a common capacitor, because they didn't have them in stock. That has nothing to do with Trump, nothing to do with the tariffs. They were having shortages on these things for at least over a year. So the entire Fox report was cracking on Trump over tariffs and the military parade. I watched Scott Jennings battling it out with a bunch of kooks on CNN. And, the talking points were the same for the CNN TDS freaks as they were on the local Fox station. So there's coordination there in the messaging. But we all know that. That's right, Diane. Kim Darby and Glenn Campbell. That's right. Who's the one that played the Texas Ranger? What role did Glenn Campbell play? Kim said, yeah, they meant to be cocky. Well, Rooster Cogburn wasn't cocky. He was just an old, tough, old, drunk marshal. Grumpy old fart that you want on your side. Oh, Glenn Campbell played the Texas Ranger. Well, yeah, that's right. He was really young, wasn't he? Yeah, I'm thinking the remake, it was a different guy. When, who played Rooster Cogburn in the remake? It was, oh gosh, he recently passed away. You all would know. So anyway, what's your all's thoughts on this? We're talking about White House being exposed. Now this Tillis character, he's trying to block Ed Martin from going in as prosecutor in D.C. Y'all up to speed on that? I was watching a video today where an ex-convict was talking about his experiences and people that he talked to in prison that had gotten convicted federally, and how the ball bounces sometimes with plea deals and all this kind of stuff. And he brought up the fact, he said most judges in most states, federal judges, don't really run the show. It's the prosecutors. They've got minimum sentences for certain offenses. In this case, it was a guy who had committed some felonies back in the 70s, and then 25 years later, kept his nose clean, got a job, did his time for what he did back in 1974 and 1976, got out of jail, worked a job for 20-some years, never got into any trouble. His father passed away, and he ended up being the executor of his father's estate. He had to sell stuff off to settle the estate, and his father had a gun collection. This was back in the late 1990s. Well, they got him for possessing, even though he sold them to get rid of them, never shot them or loaded them, or he complied with the law on selling private guns back in the day. he wasn't supposed to touch them because of his 25-year-old felonies. He got an automatic 15 years. There wasn't anything the judge could do. And the judge told him he was sorry that he had to sentence him to that much time. And they were saying, it's the prosecutors that run the judges. I just heard the story today, and the video was recorded 2 years ago. 2 years ago. So, what is this panic by Tillis to keep Ed Martin from being a D.C. prosecutor? I mean the head kahuna prosecutor in D.C. So, I'll put it this way. I said, look out for a scandal with White House, because for some reason he's squealing and complaining and we never heard him before. Well, look out for some kind of scandal with Tillis, because he's squealing and complaining and we never really heard of him before. I'm seeing if anybody's throwing down any issues. We're talking about the movie. Yeah, I'd rather watch an old movie any daggone day. I can't think of anything that I would bother to go to the theater about. And that's because it's all a bunch of programmed propaganda and woke crap. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what I put in my thumbnail about Tina Peters. We were talking about that a couple of weeks ago. How she was leaving a restaurant totally unaware that she was going to be arrested. And they had these fat, dopey, I guess, local deputies or cops or whatever descend on her in the parking lot and grab her up. And she's like, whoa, what's going on? She started kicking and wiggling. Hey! And they charge her with assaulting a police officer, a little 90-pound woman, however much she weighed, 110 pounds or somewhere in there, saying she has kicked that officer. That got her how many years? When you're an elected official and all of a sudden you get jumped, no warning, when everybody else that's a sworn officer that's elected gets treated with deference. Their attorney gets contacted. They say you're going to be charged. You got to come down, get booked. Let us know when you're coming. Okay. You don't jump them in a parking lot. So I saw the judge when he sentenced her. And I ought to find, if I could find that clip and play it for y'all one night. It's disgraceful. The way he talks to her. You can feel the hatred, visceral, vicious way a judge treated her. Where is Mr. T's demand for her release? He did demand it. Am I still alive? And we'll see. Holy cow. Funny how these things work. Radical left Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser ignores illegals committing violent crimes like ape and red rum in his state, and instead jailed Tina Peters, a 69-year-old Gold Star mother who worked to expose and document Democrat election fraud. Democrat election fraud. I'm going to read the rest of it. But there's, just like there's links between what I was talking about with the Supreme Court colluding with Congress, there's going to be links between what happened with Tina Peters and happened to Rudy Giuliani and what they just did with those 60,000 votes in North Carolina. That's my prediction. That it's getting laid out. The table's being set. Tina is an innocent political prisoner being horribly and unjustly punished in the form of cruel and unusual punishment. This is a communist persecution by the radical left Democrats to cover up their election crimes and misdeeds in 2020. The same Democrat Party that flies to El Salvador to try to free an MS-13 terrorist is cruelly imprisoning, perhaps for life, a grandmother whose brave and her heroic son gave his life for America. I'll continue with that in a minute. I want to make sure I don't fall off. Trump is not pulling any punches. He's laying it out plump and plain. In political, if this wasn't political talk, if this was regular talk, them's fighting words. Okay? Them's fighting words. And sometimes you need to put out some fighting words when the truth needs to be told. So there are communists that judges is a disgrace, giving no deference to her elected position, her past performance, her past behaviors, her achievements. He treated her like a common criminal over a dispute on an election. Colorado must end this unjust incarceration of an innocent American. I am hereby directing the Department of Justice to take all necessary action to help secure the release of this, quote, hostage being held in Colorado prison by the Democrats for political reasons. Capital letters, free Tina Peters now. I'm hoping for something to come to a head. You know, maybe this parade might have something to do with it. They're going to be bringing in so much hardware. So many soldiers. We get this guy in D.C., this prosecutor in D.C. Well, I think the military is going to be the last. I mean, that's going to be if they quit playing ball. I think there's enough of them playing ball. But Arizona's got to get busted open. And I said a couple of years ago that I thought Arizona was going to be ground zero when we would start seeing people being arrested at high levels of state government would be Arizona. That was when the stories came out and evidence was presented about phony deeds of trust in the courthouse to cover up money laundering and phony real estate transactions recorded in the courthouse that were all an artifice used for money laundering. 6 figures with cartels. At the same time, you have Tom Hullman on top of the things he said. He said we were going to wipe the cartels off the face of the earth. So everybody is on their toes about what's going to happen. From the North Pole all the way down into Central America. They don't know what Trump's going to do. Yeah, that's right, Mrs. Mindersu. He's pissed. Everybody's mad, right? I'm mad. You know what? When I read that truth Mr. T wrote, I got a sour feeling in my stomach because how she was treated is absolutely disgusting. She's sitting in a jail cell. And she was very heroic with what she did. Before I went live, I had this notification. Trump-aligned group sues Chief Justice John Roberts in effort to restrict the powers of the courts. No, that's not why they're suing them. They're suing them over these, what I consider to be illegal meetings. But no, they act like they're trying to restrict the power of the courts. You can't have private, clandestine meetings with members of Congress and the Supreme Court outside of the view of the people. Creating documents, having phone conversations, contacts, phone calls, all out of the reach of a FOIA request, which is freedom of information. But what they forget is that FISA works both ways. And I keep forgetting to bring the point up that John Roberts nominated Bozoberg. Bozoberg. He's the one that's continuing to claim that there is a possible criminal contempt charge against members of the administration, even though he was told that he had no jurisdiction over the case. His position, and it's being tolerated for some reason. Because if Roberts can pick up the phone and talk to a member of Congress or 2 members of the Senate and the House, he can sure in hell can pick up the phone and talk to Bozoberg. I heard they were roommates in college. So it's being tolerated, probably encouraged. How did Myers? I'm in the middle of the creek. But anyway, it's being tolerated that he's ordering all this information and, give a good excuse or else, along with that Judge Zena. They said a 92-year-old federal judge that was appointed by Obama, I think, was either Clinton or Obama. It's trying to throw another monkey wrench in. I mean, they're openly defying protocol. They're openly defying their own code of conduct. They're openly defying their own code of ethics. How long is this going to be tolerated? Is Trump going to try to get past the June 14th parade without any big... Do we need to really represent at the midterms, which is closer than we think, in order to have enough people in line? How many senators are needed for impeachment? Can somebody goggle that? How many senators are needed for impeachment? Because depending on how this investigation turns out, that's what I thought, Greg, and I got question marks behind it too. I thought 60. They're headhunting Fetterman because he's not playing that psycho wokey doke crap. So now they're talking like John Fetterman's brain is gone and he needs to be removed. The Democrats. Watch Fetterman jump. Watch Fetterman jump. We're at 57 right now, aren't we? We're at 57 in the Senate. If Fetterman jumps, we'll be at 58. White House is getting himself in trouble. That would be 59. I don't know. I don't have all that on the top of my head, off the top of my head. But I think that's what we're looking at, folks. We got to do just like the Democrats and bean count in the House, and they're all little beans. We got 57 Republican beans. We got 43 Democrat beans. We need 3 more beans on our side. Where, which states, who's vulnerable, and we got to activate, motivate, agitate. I'm sure we'll get some help. Like Bob Menendez got kicked out. Yeah, all roads seem to lead back to the judicial system. That's right, Kim. Well, that's why I think we're going through this exercise right now. Look how many judges, all through Trump's convictions, the trials that got kicked out. You know, we've been over them. We got Middleton in Florida, Mercon up New York, and Goron in New York, and what's the one that similar to Amy Berman Jackson? There's Amy Berman Jackson. Good, and then Supreme Court's Amy Coney Barrett. All right, okay. So Amy Coney Jackson in New York that prosecuted Roger Stone and I forget his name. Put him in solitary confinement. The political consultant. I forget his name. But anyway, we've got a big cluster. Beryl Howell, Judge Chutkin. That's the old bench. I mean, they're still involved now, because they're running out of people to draw on. I thought Beryl Howell had retired, but now she's in the picture again, and somehow she ends up with these Trump cases because they're running out of people to run to who will play ball with them. And now we've got these new casts of characters that are actively trying to obstruct Donald Trump from executing his foreign policy and protecting the nation from an unlawful invasion, predatory incursion. So, and they're doing it violating the things I discussed earlier, the code of ethics and the code of conduct, and the black letter of the law. They're trying to make their own law. They're defying things that are settled as operations of law. All right, how many is 2/3? Diane said. Diane said we need 2/3. Yeah, I did say that earlier, what makes a good movie. But then we were also told those you trust the most are the ones that, but I think that was early on when they were talking about, who did Americans say they trusted the most out of all three branches with the judiciary? That public trust is eroding. People are getting fed up with it. Once again, in that article I just read, right below it, it says 1798 War Powers Act. That it's a wartime act that Trump signed. And that's a damn lie. It is not. Todd says 67. Yeah, how could we ever get to 10 more? Well, if Fetterman jumps, it'd be 9 more. We would need 9 Democrats. Oh, what, they had black smoke come out of the chimney at the Vatican? When white smoke comes out, that means they pick somebody. Boy, won't that be interesting. Who's going to be the next Pope? El Pape, El Pape. So anyway, folks. Well, oh my goodness. Let me see here. I got to get back to that picture. Holy cow. I'm glad I don't drop off when I do that. Well, I tell you what, I want to thank Wayne and William today and yesterday for going by buy me a coffee. I really appreciate it. I got a link in the description if anybody wants to help the channel out. And before that was Mike and Bev and Miss Mendersue, along with Hilarious too. I haven't seen Hilarious in a couple of days, but I know you're out there listening. Yes, that's my self-portrait. Took a lot of time for me to get on the bank. I've been on the creek long enough. Oh, wait a minute. Did you see that? Mouth moved. Oh, holy cow. Maybe I'll get it to where it can talk. When I talk, the mouth moves. Yeah, that's me. Grandpappy's rifle. It's a blunderbuss, actually. And my bottle of hooch. How you doing, KNS Cleanup? So anyway, I appreciate everybody went to buy me a coffee this week. And once again, I want to thank you all for spending your precious time with me. I will be going live again tomorrow night, I should be. And I hope you all join me again. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll know when I go live and you can join us for the chats. And thank you, everybody on Rumble. Hit the thumbs up on Rumble, too, and follow me. I think it's a follow button you hit over there. And Shannon, if you're out there, I appreciate you for going to buy me a coffee. So thank you for spending your precious time with me, folks. You all have a great night. I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.